Hey everyone, Wes Spence here with the second Flashbang edition of Scar Tissue. Like always, Flashbangs don't have a guest. It's just going to be you and me, and I get to talk about things that I find interesting. So, let me ask you a question. What's the most fun thing you can do with your clothes on? Alright, well, for the purposes of this video, I say it's shooting a firearm chambered in the .22 rimfire. Of course, the title of this episode is The Joy of the .22 rimfire. So, today is all about fun. Yes, I know recent surveys have shown that about 70% of firearms are being purchased with self-defense in mind. What I hope to do today is highlight just how fun this sport can be for anyone, especially with a .22 rimfire. So, here's how this episode is going to go. I'll be showing you 4 different firearms chambered in .22. I'll provide a brief description of each going muzzle to butt. You're also going to see embedded video of me using each firearm on the range so you get an idea of what each firearm is capable of. And then lastly, I'll give you my personal take on the best use of each type of firearm. Hope that's clear. So here we go. I want to say before we get the firearms out, everything, Will and I, my cameraman Will, we double checked every chamber, so every firearm has been made safe. We understand there's no other ammunition in here other than these 2 rounds right here, which I'll use for demonstration purpose here shortly, but these are the only 2 live rounds in the room. Everything else has been made safe. Okay, so our first firearm up today is what is a Remington 514. My dad purchased this weapon probably, I'm not sure for sure, but he purchased it back in about 1950, 1951. This firearm was manufactured between 1948 and 1970. So this is one of the earlier versions. My dad used it as a kid on the farm and basically used it for pest control back in the day. But when I turned 6, this is what the first firearm that I actually learned how to shoot on. And I've had it ever since. It's been mine. So, like I said, we're going to go muzzle to butt and just kind of describe it for a little bit. So, starting at the muzzle end here, barrel is a 24 3/4 inches in length. Front sight is dovetailed in so you can adjust windage with your front sight. Got a nice little gold bead there. Moving down the barrel, the rear sight, if you can see that there, it's adjustable for elevation. It is a notch rear. With the long distance between the rear sight and the front sight, it really provides outstanding, clear aiming point, and so it really helps facilitate extremely accurate shooting for even though it's a very simple firearm, which actually makes it better in my opinion. You can see the stock is a hardwood stock. It's basically about 13 1/4 length of pull, the distance between the trigger and the butt. You can see that it's a bolt action rifle, all right? It's also in single shot, so you have to take 1 cartridge at a time, put it in the breech, close the bolt, and fire the weapon. Safety, I just want to show you that right quick, is right here. So with that right there, turned and you turn it clockwise, that puts it on safe, and you can carry it that way. And then when you're ready to fire, you turn it back. There's a little red mark right here. You can see that's the danger sign. And that means the weapon is ready to fire. Again, you fire it, pull the bolt back, automatically ejects the cartridge, the spent cartridge, and you have to manually put that new bullet back in. Let's see here. So yeah, hardwood stock. You can see it's basically a no frills machine, and it's been one of my favorite guns for a long time. Best use for it though, like I said before, as a single shot weapon, it really does well for teaching new shooters. Like I said, my dad had it, learned to shoot on it. I learned to shoot on it. My daughters both learned to shoot on it. And it just makes it a very, one, it's easy to hit things with, and 2, it's easy to keep safe. So that is the Remington 514. Put that to the side. All right, good morning. Getting ready to test fire my rimfire rifles for you. So just want to give you a sense of what I'm shooting today. Rifles got Federal Auto Match. You can see right there. All these are going to be 40 grain bullets, standard velocity. Also got Ely team ammunition. And I also have Aguila rifle match ammunition. So we're going to do 5-shot groups on each one of these, and we'll see how they do. All right. Okay, now we're going to take a look at the Remington 514 results. Again, all shots were done off the bench at 50 yards with the rifles. Let's see here. So the first one is going to be the Federal Auto Match. And a consistent theme with this rifle is I had at least one flyer for every group that really magnified the group. So let me give a couple of measurements here. You got for 5 shots, I had a 3.7 inch group. And then for 4 shots, that thing rolled into a 1.1 inch group down here. So pretty darn good for a 4-shot. Let's see here, going over to the Aguila rifle match. You got a 2.1 inches for 5 shots, not too shabby. Again, this is open sights. And you have a 1.38 inch group for 4 shots. So again, a small flyer, but still held it pretty good. And then last but not least, we have the Ely Teen round, 2.44 inches for 5 shots and a 1.22 inches for 4 shots. So again, if I was going to choose the best one for this, any one of the 3 could do it. I just gotta be more consistent on my own shots. So there again is the Remington 514. So you got a picture, getting back to the firearms. You saw what is the oldest 22 in my collection. And again, philosophy of use is going to be training your beginners. Now, move forward, my newest firearm in my collection is one where I really wanted to take it to the outer edge of extreme or really good accuracy. I wouldn't say extreme, but really good accuracy. Bring it out here. It's another bolt action rifle. This is the Tikka T1X, the MTR edition, which is the multitask rimfire in their vernacular. You can see it is a bolt action weapon. Unlike the Remington 514 though, this has a 10-round magazine. All right. So again, we'll go muzzle to butt. So on the muzzle here, it's interesting. As of a lot of new weapons out there, they have a threaded barrel. The little polymer thread keeps the threads protected when you don't have a suppressor on it. But with the right 22 loads, subsonic loads, this can be a really good way to shoot on the range. It really helps protect the hearing. It also doesn't bug your neighbors if you got to do some pest control. And a really good feature to have on pretty much any weapon. The barrel itself is cold hammer forged, which means it's really tough and it's going to last a long time. It's also highly, highly accurate. It's 20 inches in length. Tikka describes it as a semi-bull barrel. It has really thick bull barrel profile at the base, and it tapers down to a more sporter weight at the tip. I can tell you, it's probably, and you'll see the results in the video, but it is one of the most accurate firearms I've ever shot in my day. So taking a look at it here, going down, got the stock right here. It's a polymer stock. It is the same footprint as their centerfire rifle, the T3X. And like the T3X, you can change out the front grip. You can change out the butt to increase length of pull or decrease length of pull, adjust it that way. It's also darn near impervious to any weather. So with the finish on the barrel and the synthetic stock, you're pretty much weatherproof going out into the hunt, into the wild. Let's see here. Scope I have on it is a gem. If you haven't looked at them, this is one of Leupold's, the FX1, their rimfire scope. It's a 4-power scope, 28mm objective, crystal clear, reliable as all get out, and for hunting, it's like perfect. And so if you haven't used one of these, I would definitely check one of them out. On the mount, it's an aftermarket Picatinny rail from EGW, really good, fits real well. Put a little Loctite on it, that thing will last you forever. The actual rings I have on it are Warren or steel. The brand is Warren, and this is a quick detachable. And so if I do want to actually compete with it, and I want a more powerful scope, it's easy to go ahead and switch scopes out with the Picatinny rail, and you can mount that thing anywhere. So really good combination in my opinion. Like the Remington 514 bolt action, you can see as you close the bolt there, safety's very, very positive. Okay, I do really like the safety on this. And fire it, you pull the bolt back, you got a magazine full of rounds right here, and you can keep doing that until you are empty and have to reload the magazine. Let's see here. Oh yeah, so just want to make a quick comment on the accuracy of this thing. So I used Ely, which is the really good British ammunition. I've tested it with Aguila from Mexico. I've tested it from RWS and also Federal, their auto match. This thing really likes 40 grain bullets, and it really likes the Federal auto match, which is good because it's the cheapest in my area and it's the most available. It also likes the Aguila too, though. So you'll see those groups in there, and you can judge for yourself on what you want to do with yours. The only drawback that I've seen and I've heard so far on this rifle is if you do, it's a big thing with rimfires is to change out the barrels. They have a lot of aftermarket barrels for different types of rifles. This one's very difficult to change out because Tikka really mounted it pretty stiff inside the receiver. And so if you want to change out barrels, that's probably the only heartache you might have with this rifle. Other than that, though, I'm not sure why you would want to change out the barrel on it. The thing is just wicked accurate, and yeah, you can go from there. The best use for this rifle, it is good to train on, for sure. It's a bolt action, so it's pretty easy to manipulate and learn how the manual arms. However, I think the best use for this weapon is small game hunting. You're within 125 yards, you're going to be deadly on anything, or local shooting matches. It's extremely accurate, not quite as accurate probably as your Anschutzes or your Voodoos, the things that cost you upwards of $3,000 or so. But I don't know. It's pretty darn close. Again, judge for yourself the groups that I show you on those embedded videos, and you can make your own choice. I do know the price point's a heck of a lot better than a Voodoo, and if you ding it, you're not gonna get too sad about it. But it's been a great rifle so far, and I look forward to taking this thing a lot further. So the Tikka T1X. Okay, and for the last rifle here, we have the Tikka T1X. You can see pretty darn accurate. Also, the scope really helps a lot. So the flyers are really small. No flyer in this group though. This is the Federal auto match. Again, 50 yard distance we're shooting at, a 0.73 inch group for 5 shots. Going down to the Aguila rifle match. For 5 shots, I got a slight flyer here. So put it out to 0.91 inches for 5 shots. However, for the first 4 shots, I got her into 0.62 inch group there. And then last but not least, the Ely team for 5 shots had a 1.14 inch group. That slight flyer right there. And then for the main group, 4 shots had a 0.78 inch for 4 shots. So it does okay with the Ely, but it really does like the Aguila. And it's also really like the Federal auto match, and that's usually what I use. Because and good thing is they're probably the most prevalent rounds in my area, so that's pretty cool. So again, the Tikka T1X. Next firearm we're looking at, I was really trying to figure out what I wanted to show you next. I wanted to show you a semi-automatic weapon. I also wanted to show you a pistol, and so I decided to go with my Ruger Mark 1. This up here. So yes, for all you old guys out there, I did say the Ruger Mark 1. The Ruger 22 rimfire pistol was invented by Sturm and Ruger back in 1949, first came out on the market. This is their Target version. That was the standard version that came out. I believe the Target version came out in around 1951. My memory might be off on that, but it's around 1950-51 the Target model came out. The Mark 1 ended production in 1982, and that's the year I bought this little gem right here. And so it's the last year they made the Mark 1. It is a semi-automatic weapon, which means you have a 9-round magazine, goes in the butt right there. It has a magazine release right here in the butt as well. If you need to, when you chamber the round, the only hold open device, you can see the safety right here, right? So if you push down that safety, that's what chambers your rounds and push the safety back up. It is a very positive safety, so that's good for like when you're out. If you are out hunting with this weapon, you put it on safety. It depends. I usually carry it without one in the chamber, honestly, hunting. But you could carry one in the chamber and be pretty confident that safety is going to stay on. Although I would recommend for just walking on in the woods, I would have an empty chamber just to be safe. All right, for a 22. All right, so getting back to the weapon, going muzzle to butt. The muzzle, you have a target crown on it. It's pretty nice. You have a good partridge front sight. I believe these sights are really good. They're a adjustable rear sight. The sight picture is a blackened rear and a blackened front, and it just presents a really good picture for your target shooters. Going down, barrel is 6 7/8 inches in length. And again, provides a really good long sight picture for your target folks. The weight of this weapon is about 42 ounces, with the weight of the bolt and the weight of the barrel. It is aluminum frame, but it's still a pretty weighty weapon, which is good. It keeps things steady. It reduces recoil down to nothing, and just a really good, fun gun to shoot. So what would I use this for? Definitely target shooting, local ranges. It's not up to the high speed or like the Hammerleys or maybe the Smith & Wesson 41. Not quite in that league, but it's still pretty darn accurate. And you can, the amount of money you save purchasing this one versus purchasing one of the more expensive models is you just get to buy a lot more ammunition, you get to practice a lot more. And so the trigger's pretty good. It's about, I think it's around 3.5 pounds, give or take, and it's a pretty crisp trigger. So again, got target shooting, you got small game hunting for sure, and plinking. So it's a great, for me, it's really a good weapon. If I start getting rusty on my centerfire cartridges, whether it be my 9mm 45 or 44 Magnum, I start developing bad habits. I come back to this one, and I get to really resharpen those skills I may have lost otherwise. So for an experienced shooter, great way to come back and refocus your skills, rehone your skills. For your beginners, I would caution against it just because it is semi-automatic, and you can, every pull of the trigger, as long as that magazine has a round in it, it's going to fire. And so that's one thing I'd be cautioned about with respect to using this weapon with a pure beginner. Although it is good to, once you get them trained on the manual arms, it is good to ease someone that's learned on, say, a Remington 514 or that Tikka T1X, go into a pistol. Now that you understand the manual of arms, it is a good way to get into the handgun game. Again, no recoil, or the recoil is pretty much nil, and you get to learn that good sight picture, the good breathing techniques that you need to do in order to be accurate. So yeah, there you have the Ruger Mark I target. Just as I said, it's now up to Mark IV, so there's quite a bit of modification and advancements up in this product line right here, and they're still probably the best deal in the market with respect to price versus accuracy, at least in my opinion. All right, so Ruger Mark I. Okay, so now we're going to look at the Ruger Mark I target. And remember, this was shot off the bench at 25 yards. So you're going to see a difference in a pistol, and the ease of which you can make errors as this first group shows. Got a huge flyer here. So with the 5 shots, this is the Aguila rifle match. I got a 4.82 inch group for 5 shots, but main group there, I had her going at a 2.25 inch for 4 shots. So again, trigger discipline on my part, and I would have had a much better group. The Federal Auto Match, this pistol has never really liked it, and this really kind of shows that. A 3.23 inch for 5 shots. Have a slight flyer here, but it's really just not that great a group. So won't be using that very much, but I will be saving my Elite Team. As you can see here, got a 1.41 inch group for 5 shots with the Elite Team. So for my Ruger Mark I, definitely going to be writing this down in the book and storing as much this ammunition away as I possibly can. Good group for that. So last but not least, I look at this gun as probably my favorite in my safe. It's also one of the coolest guns out there. The Winchester 9422, 9422M is in Magnum. Let me put this down right quick and I'll show you. So I had 2 cartridges out here. So give you a sense of it. That 22 long rifle right there, that's designed to shoot typically a 40 grain bullet at about 1100 feet per second, give or take, right? So the 22 Magnum right here, this is a neat cartridge. It was really designed specifically for hunting. And so that same 40 grain bullet in this cartridge is moving along right around 2,000 feet per second, especially out of this 20-inch barreled weapon here. And so a lot more power, a lot flatter shooting. And so it's, for game like coyotes and things like that, this is a pretty good little pill to have. And so when I purchased this weapon, back in 1999. It was produced up until 2005. So I got one a few years before they actually ceased production. But I got this because I wanted something a little more powerful than the 22. Looking back on it, I should have bought both of them while I was there. But anyway, regrets of youth. What I do like about it, and you can see the lever action is an icon of American style. Going from butt to hit, the muzzle to butt. Right here, you have a 20-inch barrel. You also have your hooded front sight. You can take the hood off if you want. Some people like it. I like it keeps the sun off it, and it gets a little better sight picture for me. You have a little gold bead on that sight so you can pick it up. The rear sight is adjustable for elevation and windage, and you can. It has a nice white triangle, if you can see that in the camera. A nice little triangle right there to help focus your eye on that front bead. All right, but what's really good, or it's really amazing about this little rifle, is just how well it's constructed. I think the big competitor, the Marlin Model 39, is another older rifle in this type of segment. And the good thing, or the amazing thing about that, the receiver here is forged steel, right? And so the modern lever actions, to me, most of them, if not all of them, are now aluminum receiver to make it lighter weight. This is a 6-pound firearm, as you see it right here. But that steel receiver shows levels of manufacturing excellence that you just hardly see anymore, and so that's what I like about it. Also, you take a look at the wood at the stock. It's an American walnut. Pretty. It's plain, but it's actually beautiful in my opinion. Hopefully you can see that in the camera. The checkering on it is hand cut, which makes a truly big difference when you're actually handling the weapon. I did forget about the magazine. So lever actions, you can see the magazine, the tube on the bottom. That's where your cartridges go into. You basically pull out this brass tube, and you can just load chambers. You can see the hole right there. You can put the bullets and let them roll down into the chamber there. And you got about a 10 rounds capacity in that thing, right? And so moving along, you can see it is a lever action. So basically you shoot, you cycle around the rounds that way, okay? Safety is a half cock position. You can see it right there. And so you chamber around, you want to carry it safely. You lower the hammer down to that half cock position. And yeah, that pretty much covers the muzzle to butt. The one thing I do want to talk about is, what is this used for? So you could actually, it has a groove on top of the receiver here where you could mount a scope on it. I just prefer the looks of a scopeless lever action rifle. It just looks too good that way. So that is that's basically me, my opinion on that. But if you wanted to get better accuracy out of it, you could put a scope on it. And it would shoot. It does. You can see the results in the embedded videos. It's not as accurate as my Tikka, but is definitely minute of coyote out to about 125 yards. I made shots on gophers out to about 110 with these open sights. It does get a little bit tricky, but in good sunlight and a good visibility on the gopher, you can definitely take them out pretty far out there. And again, the 22 Winchester Magnum rimfire cartridge shoots pretty darn flat for what it is. Let's see here. I think that's, oh yeah. So the last thing I'll talk about, again, going to aesthetics, is the smoothness of that bolt. When you cycle out action, nothing out there beats this cycle for smoothness. Nothing does. And so that's part of the fun of it, right? So again, what's it for? I'll go back to hunting. It's definitely a great, very comfortable weapon to carry in the field. It's got good lethality up to a coyote, and you got plenty of rounds in there if you need them. It's also a great weapon to have if your primary hunting firearm is a Winchester 94 or other similar lever action rifles. This is a great one to train on. 22 Magnums are expensive in comparison to 22 long rifles, but they're far cheaper usually than your centerfire cartridges. So say your 30-30 or your 45-70 typical lever action cartridges, you can train on this for a lot cheaper, and pretty much the same dimensions as far as like length of pull, the weight. I believe this is actually a bit, just a tick heavier than your normal Winchester 94. So, you got about the same weight and definitely the same size as far as like length of pull and barrel length. And so it's a great way to train on that platform without having to go to the expense of centerfire cartridges. Would I train somebody on this? Again, like the semi-automatic, this is a little trickier as far as like manual arm, especially if you get into the half cock position. If you get nervous and your thumb slips off that thing, you could accidentally discharge that weapon if you let that hammer down like that. And so that's a little bit tricky, and that's what I'd be wary of when it comes to putting a beginner on this weapon. Again, that's why I go to the 514 first. Work up through manual arms, going from really simple to more complex as a new shooter gets their situational awareness around what actually makes a gun safe and makes a firearm safe. Then you can start making them getting them introduced to more complex devices. But again, this is my favorite weapon in my safe just because of the cool factor that it has and the quality of craftsmanship it exemplifies. Okay, just a little change up for the 22 Magnum. Some of the rounds we got here, we have the CCI Maxi Mag, 40 grain bullet, check out hollow point, right around 1875 feet per second. I have a Federal, check out a hollow point. This is another 40 grain round, 50 grain round, and see how that does. Next one, they got two more. I got 30 grain bullets. So this first one's going to be the Federal Spear TNT, 30 grain jacket hollow point at about 2,200 feet per second. And last but not least, we have the Hornady 30 grain, another 30 grain projectile, and right around 2,200 feet per second again. So again, all ranges are at 50 yards, and we'll see how we do. Okay, now we're taking a look at the results from the Winchester 94-22 Magnum. You can see the shots up here with the CCI Maxi Mag, the 40 grain bullets. These are probably the worst groups here. It never had shot them that great, but it got about a 3.1 inch group for 5 shots at 50 yards. Looking down at the Hornady 30 grain VMAX, not too shabby, right at a 2 inch group for 5 shots. And then let's see here. Yeah, you're going to have to take my word for it, but the last shot just barely went off the page. And so the total group for 5 shots is about a 1.68 inches for the Federal small game. The 50 grainer, that's why I was saying shot pretty low. I was aiming for here, but the 50 grain bullet gonna hit a little low. And then back up to the Federal Spear TNT 30 grainers at 1.62 inches for 5 shots. So you can see between the Federals, if I had to hunting with this gun, this is what I'm going to be dialing in on to take a look at to make sure I have my most effective and accurate loads for this rifle. So that again was a Winchester 94-22 Magnum. So with that said, I hope today you got a better picture of what is out there as far as like the 22 rimfire is concerned, the types of actions, whether it be single shot, bolt action, semi-automatic, lever action. 2, I hope some of the videos you can see me shooting out there and the fun we have at the range. I'll say that shooting for me, yes, I kind of got into it because one, my dad wanted to make sure that I knew what a weapon was, because knowledge is power. You need to understand how they function so that you can be safe, right? And so that was my initial reason to get into shooting that Remington 514. So after I got into shooting and learning the safety aspect of it, that's when I realized how fun it was, especially when I started, hitting things way far out there, with the proverbial tin cans on a log. Then all of a sudden making those groups smaller and smaller and smaller. What we found in my military life is guys get out and they suffer from maybe PTSD or other issues. Getting to the range is one of those few sports or activities that make you be present. Everybody that knows me knows I love surfing, because when you surf, you can't think of anything else but what you're going to do on that wave. Shooting is in the same realm as that. When you're on that range, you have to be focused on the safety aspect of the weapon for one, but you also, in order to make sure you put the same round or a round in the same spot every time you shoot, that is your goal. And that takes an amazing amount of concentration, an amazing amount of dedication and skill. it's never going to be perfect. And that's the beauty of it. And so that's what makes it such a joy to get out there and practice. And the beauty of the 22 rimfire is that there's no recoil. If you use a suppressor like on the TK T1X, it muffles the sound considerably, makes it very comfortable to have your kids out there and other beginners out there. And then as those size of groups shrink, you start feeling that sense of accomplishment. So it's a tangible, physical manifestation that you can see downrange every time that those groups get smaller. And it's a really great sense of achievement. And so I hope today that I gave you not only a sense of what's out there as far as like action types and types of firearms that you can use in the 22, but also why it's fun. And so if I can leave you with anything else today, I'll just tell you, get out there, learn. Knowledge is power. Learn how to operate some sort of weapon. Everybody should have an opportunity to learn how to shoot, and also learn how these firearms operate so that you can always be safe. And at the end of the day, have a heck of a lot of fun with it. So go out, have fun, have a blast, pun intended, and we'll see you next time on Flashbang and Scar Tissue. Have a great day.